Welcome to This Week in Vexly. Starting off, we will recap last week's trade ideas. Starting off, we liked snow as a short going into last week. It was a sell on the market maker model along with just hitting a sell signal from the week prior. Positioning rolled higher to 185, which was the high of week for snow before it fell and failed to hold that 175 level we were watching. From Monday's open to low of week, snow was down 5.33%. Next, we liked DDOG as a short last week due to the short signal from the market maker model and Pluto. We also noted the majority of positioning was set for 95. Therefore, we expected price to move to 95, which it did after it ran up to the peak positive gamma wall. That was around 100, which we mentioned in last week's video. From Monday's open to low of week, DDOG was down 5.5%. From our third idea from last week, we like spot as a short due to it being a short bearish setup on the market maker. Pluto was neutral, so we wanted to wait for a short signal. We never got that signal last week, but price did push past peak positive gamma and failed to see positioning rolling higher, so we returned to the peak at 150. From Monday's open to low of week, spot was down 2.5%. Our last idea from last week was a short on CCJ due to it being short on the market maker model, but we did mention that Pluto had already signaled a sell, and we wanted to wait for it to signal again before shorting. We never got that signal and ended up seeing price chop in a range for the week, and CCJ ended up closing the week up almost 2%, but it provided many opportunities to scalp long and short. Looking back at last week and reviewing what we saw, we will start with the CB swap lines. Nothing new to note here as we continue to see these decline, but we have something interesting to show, which is the Fed's balance sheet saw an uptick last week. This is interesting due to this being around the same area that the Fed started buying assets in March. We also saw an uptick in overnight repos last week as well. This small injection of liquidity helped the market float last week, as we are reaching new levels of supply. Next, we want to look at the returns on the weekly chart, and note how this was the fourth week we've seen the three indices close relatively positive, but want to point out how QQQ closed down only 0.03%, which would call flat on the week. As we mentioned in last week's video, seeing this many weeks of positive returns isn't a good sign, and has a tendency to lead to some negative returns. As for levels we are watching this week on SPX, we will be paying attention to 43.25, 4,300, and 42.75. These are areas that currently have positioning that looks like it could act as support or resistance. Now let's get into our ideas for the week. First idea we like is a short on Dash. It is a short on the market maker model, but has come off a sell signal from Pluto. We want to see another sell signal before entering short. Next, looking at our gamma levels, we want to point out the positioning at 75 and 70. Looking at our Vanna levels, we want to note the peak positive is at 75 and peak negative is at 70. Looking at our P1 skew, it is slightly negative on the week, which is good to see. Not everyone is already short, and here are the seasonal weekly returns. Last thing to look at is our VX levels, which is showing what looks to be like some supply at the 72 level, which was rejected on Friday last week. For our next and final idea for the week, we like FSLR as a long due to the long signal from the market maker model, along with our Pluto model just signaling a long on Thursday last week. Looking at our gamma levels, we can see the peak positive and negative positioning is set at 200, which should act as a magnet for price to return to. We are also seeing the same profile on our Vanna chart, with 200 being the peak. Next, we'll look at our skew model, and P1 skew is flat for the week, and here are the seasonal weekly returns. Lastly, we want to look at our VX levels, and point out the bid we are seeing form around 192. To recap for the week, we are seeing some signs of Fed providing liquidity, which will be needed for the overall market to move higher. But based on weekly returns, we are already starting to see tech slow down. Due to the uncertainty of current market conditions, and what we are seeing with our tools and models, we decided it's in the best interest to only provide 2 of our highest quality setups in this week's video. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.